Good evening and welcome to the monthly board meeting of the Dallas Independent School District Board of Trustees. Please stand, well, we've already done that. Trustees present, starting on your left and my right, are Trustee Foreman, who's heading to her seat, Trustee Mackey, Trustee Flores, Trustee Mitch K, our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Hinojosa, Trustee Marshall, Trustee Carla Garcia will participate in the board meeting via video conference from the Hotel Fairmont, Chicago Millennium Park, 200 North Columbus Drive, Chicago, Illinois, 60601. Trustee Miguel Solis will participate in the board meeting via video conference from 111 East Cesar Chavez, Austin, Texas, 78701. And Trustee Johnson has just joined us as well. And I've already announced some of the elected officials were here. If there's any additional ones that walked in, I don't see any. Trustee Flores, could you do us the honor?
Buenas noches. Si hay alguien que necesita el servicio de un intérprete, aquí el joven les puede ayudar con el equipo. Gracias.
Trustees, there are no recognitions tonight. Our agenda now calls for the public forum segment of our meeting. We will begin with speakers to agenda items, followed by speakers to non-agenda items. To ensure that this meeting is held in an orderly manner, I'm asking speakers to please refrain from using individual names and to address the board and not individual trustees. Mrs. Scully, will you please call the names of the speakers?
Okay. Again, I would like to remind speakers that you will have 3 minutes to speak. When you arrive at the microphone, please state your name and address. Our first speaker is Paula Avellaneda, followed by the Honorable Bernadette Nuttall.
Hello, my name is Bernadette Nuttall, and I live at 6603 Prairie Flower Trail. Dr. Martin Luther King said, "A person who stands for nothing will fall for anything." Today, I stand as the mother of a Dallas Independent School District student, and we're not falling for it. And we see you, board members. You're always talking about being a leader, but just in case you did not get the memo, no other school district's following you. Policy BE Local. No other school district in Dallas County or Texas has a policy as restricted against a trustee wanting to have final discussion on an item before the board takes final action. Open discussion is open government, and transparent discussion is the public's right. You have found a way around single-member districts with BE Local policy. District 9 trustee, you stand on the shoulders of Honorable Catherine Gilliam, who fought long and hard for racial equity in voices at this board table. And for you not to honor her by not supporting District 6 trustee to have a voice at the table is hypocritical to what you say you champion, racial equity for all. The FAIR Plan was primary for the schools in District 5, 6, and 9, represented by the black trustees to gain support for the tax increase election. But again, you prostitute the black children to get what you want and then do something different with the FAIR funds. Is that fair? The FAIR funds will provide additional $245 per student at the schools. Each school principal will propose how to use that fund to boost student achievement. Then school leadership will review and approve the proposal. However, you've given 2 people in school leadership all the authority and power to decide how the money would be spent without any accountability and little input from principals. Another case where no other school district is following you, no other school district, large or small, uses the TEI. This policy hurts children. But your kids do not go to DISD, so you don't have to live with my reality. House Bill 3 reduced the property tax rate and gave more funds to the district, yet teachers did not receive salary increases because of TEI. The $5,000 amount was a mirage, a smoke and mirror deception. This policy hurts children. But your kids do not go to DISD, so you don't have to live with my reality. Know what you don't know, learn what you need to know, and the more you read, the more you know, the smarter you grow. The stronger your voice when speaking or making your choice. So you need to ask the courageous question and hold administration accountable so you can make informed and good decisions for our children, my child. Our trustees, except one, receive money and endorsement from Dallas Kids First. but yet you're not putting kids first. Instead, you're putting them last as you stand and step on the backs of our children, my child, as you try to step to your next position, i.e. mayor, city council, House of Representatives. Remember, the goal is bigger than the road. We see you and we're watching you.
Thank
Lauren,
you.
Devontae,
Thank you,
Mason,
Ms. Nuttall.
Milan, and Madison.
Ruth Torres, followed by Nethel Jackson.
To the stakeholders, Board of Education, Superintendent of Schools, and staff, Nethel B. Jackson, I live at 2851 Toluca, Dallas, Texas, 75224, speaking closure of John L. Patton. To the board, we, the community of District 6, ask you to pull this item for more dialogue because we know you have not worked with us in good faith. If this board votes to close John L. Patton tonight, this will be a done deal. Ask yourself, who is the bigger loser? Yes, it's the young people that went to Patton, the one that you said that you wanted to help. I have attended 2 community meetings around the closure of John Patton. It has more question than answer. Only at the 11th hour, the DISD staff held 2 community meetings. The plan to close John L. Patton had already been written when you met with us in District 6. How dare you to put a plan together without the community, and most of all, without Trustee Farmer? Because you, Mr. Superintendent of all schools in DISD, you must take some responsibility for this closure. At this time, the community wants to thank you, Trustee Farmer, for your unwavering commitment and dedication, for your courage to vote for justice and fairness in education for all students, speaking out on issues concerning the DISD, and most of all, Trustee Farmer, for keeping the public voice in public school. Thank you, Trustee Farmer.
Ruth Torres, followed by Shirley Daniels.
Ruth Torres, 1180 North Masters Drive. We keep coming up and telling you transparency, accountability, community engagement. You say you want to hear from parents in the community. And then when we come, it doesn't matter what we say. You've already decided what you're going to do anyway. Stop. Listen to us. I hear Chief Alizer's presentation. What was online was very minimal. We can understand numbers. We can respect that. We can respect the cost. But we need you to care more about the student and have a plan so that we're not throwing away those lives and those education for each one of those students at Patton. We need a real plan. Stop with the knee-jerk reactions and the purposeful attempts to block transparency and accountability. I've spoken repeatedly about this preventing one board member from pulling. That is unheard of. Dallas City Council, one of them can pull. Other school districts, one of them can pull. So this is a block. Now you also have this on the 7.03, public meeting participation. Well, if you don't like what we have to say and you tell us to be quiet or kick us out, then we can't come back for 90 days. And now you have this one on the media. If they leave the auditorium, they'll be kicked out for 90 days. That's directly responsive to Brett Shipp following Dustin Marshall, who vacated for 30 minutes while public speaking was going on and removed him. So, maybe we need a policy that the trustees are actually listening to the public and they remain here when we're speaking. And then we won't have to worry about anybody following you. There was also two other items that were pulled, 7.34 and 7.35. I'm glad that they were pulled, but I would really want to encourage you to go back and look at Pinkston. I don't understand why it's taken 3 years to come back and say we're going to build a $75 million school that is only going to house 1,000. I don't understand that we moved around like 6 different schools. We pulled up thousands of kids' lives to shuffle them around, and 3 years later, the ground's still not broken. You want to come with a half-stepping plan? Please, take your time and think about that and really have a plan to build for capacity. We need to be able to pull our kids back out of these charter schools, these underperforming charter schools that are in the Southern District that are repeatedly D schools. We need to really give parents an option where they can bring kids in where they're getting their education. And then we want to make sure we're not giving property to a charter school to compete with us. Thank you.
The Honorable Shirley Daniels, followed by Isaac Steen.
With all due respect, I just want to make a statement. If you could please refrain from using individual names of trustees, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Shirley Daniels. I reside in 1360 Fox Glen, Cedar Hill, Texas. I guess you're wondering, why am I here? Well, I've sat around and watched the horseshoe over 40 years. I had 8 children to go through the DISD district, so I know where all the bodies are buried. Okay, I want to speak on Patton, the closure of Patton. And I know you remember, Superintendent, when that school was in the making. And we supported that school because we had students coming from foreign countries that were overaged, that when they came to the United States, they had not been equivalent to the educational system that we provided here in the district. So we supported that they would have a school that was for them that was overaged. And I have seen students progress from many years being at that school. So I don't know who came to town, that came to the board, that didn't know, wet behind the ears, that don't know the history of why Patton was established. Patton has to remain, because when you have those children that come even to our country, and we love them, some of them have not been able to be educated maybe to the 5th grade, but they are 16 and 17 years of age. They want to be educated too. So we need to keep a place for those students that come here to be educated. Because I have, like I said, I've watched that school with the students. They have produced great students. Now, I heard the lady saying the state says you got to have all of these various, they got an F. Okay, but if a kid is performing F minus and he moves up to F, then he has improved. Okay? So when you tell me all these variables that you have to go by the state, they're not speaking about kids who are that far behind. You got students that's 2, 3, 4, 5 grades behind that's going to Patton. So why would you put them in a situation where they would be scorned and made fun of, but you put a boy in jail because he was playing basketball, 21 years old, you want to put him in jail now?
Thank you, Ms. Daniels. Your time has expired. Isaac Steen.
Thank you.
Followed by George Castro.
My name is Isaac Steen, and I preside at 4810 Haywood Parkway. And here I am again saying the same thing, that we need to leave this school open. But I think what we fail to realize as an audience, not as the board, that this school has already been closed. These kids have already been moved. There's nobody on campus but the janitor. So the school is already being closed, so these people are not being transparent with us. So what we are really fighting for is to reopen the school next year, because they're not going to open it back up this year. So we're trying to get it reopened so we can get these kids back in there and get a quality education that they so much deserve, because sometimes we don't know what happened to these kids or what put them in that position they're in. But whatever it is, we want to help correct it. And as I heard the trustee say a while ago, talking about this superintendent raise, that the incentives for performance is not an incentive for performance, it's a bonus. So there go another Houdini, find the peanut under the nutshell. You moving stuff around, so you're confusing the community. We haven't been informed. You're not trying to inform us. You don't even care if we don't trust you. As long as you get a paycheck or you get endorsement from the charter school industry that can put money into your campaign, you're happy. As long as your kid. Now, I apologize to all of you up there, because my kids go to DISD, my grandkids do. I don't have enough money to send them to these expensive private schools like some of you do. So I apologize for being broke, but I don't apologize for being strong and speaking up against what you're doing with my money. I'm a taxpayer. I will continue to be a taxpayer. I will continue to be a voter, and I will continue to be a voice. And I said, we send some of you up there because of your leadership ability, not to go up there and be followers of other leaders with just packed money. So I want you to understand this. This school need to stay open, not to be closed, because you have made a decision without informing us, the taxpayer. Because every mistake you make, we pay for it, not you.
George Castro, followed by Diane Tassian.
Good evening. My name is George Castro, 4323 Brown Street, Dallas, Texas. I'm here to ask the board to vote no to the closing of Patton and of the placement of overage students at any of the DISD campuses. I have emailed each of the board members individually and asked you to vote if your child's campus was affected, to vote in the way that if it would affect your child. Because we have 11 and 12-year-olds on our campus at Pinkston, and to have an 18 or 20-year-old on the same campus, just think of the consequences that can happen. You could have an 11 or 12-year-old girl who is fully developed and a 20-year-old man on the campus. You have problems, and y'all need to understand that. And we've asked y'all to please do not close Patton and do not bring those kids. Now, I was informed that we had 22 children on our campus already, and I don't see any separation of those kids, even between the 7th and 8th graders, the comprehensive side, the collegiate side. The only thing you've got is those doors. But we've got to leave those overage kids off of our campus, and, it's for the safety of the kids. Okay, and I have emailed each one of y'all individually. I emailed the executives about 2 weeks prior to that opposing this, and I only received 3 emails in return. I thank those who responded. We're here for our kids, and that we're trying to get what's best for them. On a second note, it seems odd that we are still fighting to get the approval funding for the new Pinkston High School. 5 years after its initial talks started, the initial amount in 2015 started at $130 million. That amount was then changed to $121 million, then to $83 million, and then our former trustee informed us that it had gone down to $63 million. We need to quit playing games with our community, build the school that you promised the community, and stick to what we've already said. We've been at this for 5 years, and we've gotten absolutely nowhere. We have a big piece of land out there in West Dallas that's actually not been even broken ground yet. So please find the resources that were originally promised to our community. And as we had mentioned in the past before, the last time I came, our community supports our trustee. We need to let y'all know that Trustee Johnson stands for our community, and we stand behind him as well. On the last note, in agreement with the needs of the participatory budgeting, I would like to see it expanded to include the Pinkston program as well. Thank you very much.
Diane Tassian, followed by Kebron Alexander.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Yeah, there it is. Okay. I'm Diane Tassian, President of the League of Women Voters of Dallas. Our office is located at 6060 North Central Expressway, Dallas 75206. My address is 3831 Turtle Creek Boulevard, number 15A, Dallas 75219. I'm speaking to the issue of the educational process for overage students, agenda item 7.18. We appreciate the district's efforts to provide a quality education for all students. The League believes that an equitable, quality public education is critical for students and the community and for our agenda of making democracy work. We support high-quality teaching and learning created by providing teachers with resources they need to do their job, quality learning materials, and well-maintained and safe educational facilities. We support meeting students' needs with access to health care, such as hearing, vision, dental, immunization, school-based health clinics at the secondary level, etc., nutrition, school-based meals under free and reduced meal programs. The district indicates there are 8,000 students who are overage and undercredited and did not graduate due to many different extenuating circumstances. The League supports the effort to meet the educational and safety needs of current students so they graduate on time and to prevent future overage students at this magnitude. We encourage the district to meet the needs of current overage students and into the future by optimizing resources for students to prevent more students from falling into the same situation. 8,000 is a significant number. These students represent an opportunity and indicate a strong need for the district to improve their current system with resources and well-trained teachers. More school counselors are needed. The student-teacher ratio should be lowered to ensure all students get the services they need, and more social workers, psychologists, psychiatrists, and librarians are needed. Excuse me. The democratic and transparent processes have not been followed in this situation to allow informed public participation in making decisions regarding the education of overage students. We appreciate the efforts of the trustee who worked closely with her constituents to meet the needs of all the students in her district. The League appreciates your efforts.
Kebron Alexander, followed by Albert Wilhite. Albert Wilhite, followed by Camille White.
Good evening. My name is Albert Wilhite. I reside at 405 Amber Lane, DeSoto, Texas, 75115. And I'm here to discuss agenda item 7.18, the closing of Patton. I try to make this short and sweet because I feel like I'm beating a dead horse because everything that I want to say has already been said this evening. I'm a proud product of DISD, along with all of my siblings and my youngest daughter, who attends the school that I graduated from, that all of us did, which was Carter High School, because she wanted to come as legacy. Carter High School was one of the schools that was on the agenda item to be considered to have the students from Patton transferred to Carter. I'm against that, since Carter is not on the list for schools, but I'm still against the closing of Patton due to the fact because since I am a proud product of DISD, the the students who were at Patton had a sense of pride. They had a sense of belonging. They had a sense of accomplishment. But you have taken up. They also had a sense of being. But you have snatched that away from them. And you have placed them on campuses where they feel inferior, where they're being ridiculed, laughed, talked about, maybe even bullied. But with some type of agenda, if Patton is not open, there need to be some type of school reopened for these children so that they have a sense of being, a sense of belonging, a sense of accomplishment. Because since you're taking this away from them, you're taking away our future. You're taking away our future. And since board member Foreman was excluded and did not know about this, and by looking at you all's body language and demeanor, I see why we have a disheveled board. But this is since we elected you, you work for us. So because you, if no type of change happens, we know what to do coming next election. Thank you.
Camille White, followed by Aubrey Hooper.
Camille White, I reside at 10212 Carolina Oaks Drive, Dallas, Texas, 75227. There are several things on this agenda that have caused me concern and pause. The first item I would like to speak about is the Patton situation. When I first heard of this, I said, why didn't they ask for waivers from TEA? TEA gives them waivers for everything. They never really refused them. The person that we sent down there, he came from here, who's on the board. Those were some very important things that came to my mind. The next thing was, why didn't they try to do something creative? I remember when they came and basically what they call reconstituted Spruce because of Spruce performance. So when I heard the 3 schools that were mentioned, 2 of them seemed to be in the southern sector and only 1 in the northern sector. Hillcrest, Skyline is in my backyard and Spruce is around the corner in my neighborhood. So that didn't seem right either, because the same problem that they are closing that school for, that's what other people is concerned. It's all about numbers. We know this. We get this. I think I've said enough about that. I don't want to beat a dead horse. The next thing I want to mention is 7.11 and 7.114. It's concerning STEM, and I am for STEM. My question is, why is it that we're renting out the convention center to have a STEM convention when we could host it at the university that's hosting one of the STEM projects anyway? Because I feel like by saving money, yes, people tell me I'm a stickler, I'm always looking at money. Yes, when you follow the money, that's where people's heart lie, is that with money. So I said to myself, because I am one of those people, no longer, thank God, and for those of you who are still having that problem, yeah, you just bear it out. I'm one of those parents who had to buy Kleenexes, copier paper, wipes, pencils, everything else for hand sanitizer. Thank you. I had a list that was just crazy. I had to get certain color folders. I get that. My kids' personal use. But when you have to buy tissue and Kleenexes for everybody because teachers don't want to get out of their pocket for it, and they shouldn't have to pay. And when you push parent groups out, which you say you want community involvement, and it's not happening, you guys are not informing us. This is sad. It really is. We shouldn't be reactive when we can be proactive when you provide us with the information that we need. There is other items that I don't have time. I'm looking at the clock. But I just want you guys to please take the time to look at these agendas, even though you're being fed by us. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Aubrey Hooper, followed by Kebron Alexander.
Aubrey Christopher Hooper, 207 East Pleasant Run, DeSoto, Texas. Since the board president admonished against calling trustees by name, I just want to again thank all of the trustees in addition to trustee from District 4 and District 8 for your service. I understand and know that this is a thankless, unpaid job, so thank you for your service. All right, now that we got that out the way. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do absolutely nothing. What is important that we are concerned about the least of these. What brought me deep concern when we talked about the initial conversation about closing John Leslie Patton, really, I don't know if the trustee from District 5, if he said it jokingly or if he meant it. But when he offered as Townview Magnet Center, which I'm a proud alumni, on the table, and it was quickly dismissed. And my question is it because it's a sacred cow? Is it because it's a crown jewel? And maybe it is. And maybe it is. But if it is, Carter, Hillcrest, Pinkston, Skyline, and Spruce, and every child's education should also be a sacred cow, should also be a crown jewel. When I spoke earlier about the superintendent as well as the board of trustees being advocates for Dallas ISD and really talking about alternative education and for lobbying their legislators and their good friend that they sent down to TEA, our wonderful commissioner from Dallas ISD, that this type of alternative educational arrangement pose no threat to the district rating. I understand that for whomever cares about it, that we have to put some type of accountability rating. But as I think one of the previous speakers talked about, there are many waivers and opportunities that we can try to fight for to help them to understand that these kids' situations are not normal. And that we have to provide an opportunity so that we can prepare them to be successful, that they can become contributing and successful citizens, and that they can be able to compete in today's global society. And if we're going to do that, we have to make sure that we provide them with the best quality education for their circumstance. And to return them to the trauma that they tried to escape is almost committing evil sins against these kids. And I know that's not what you want to do.
Hebron Alexander, followed by Gerald Britt.
My name is Hebron Alexander. I reside at 911 Glenstone Lane, Dallas 75232. As I was made aware of the situation at Patton, I was also presented with information that wasn't quite complete, yet this was a public presentation by school district administrators that intimated that there were kids with some special needs that were part of the population of Patton that was looking to be moved to Carter High School. When I inquired about the number that had an IEP or a 504, those numbers weren't available, they didn't know. And so we're dealing with a lot of rumor and innuendo to move something without the facts being available in a transparent sense to the community. But the more I thought about it, even if we take the special ed kids out of the mix for the sake of argument, the rest of the kids are dealing with a situation where they're more than 2 years removed from their natural peers. And as the original Metropolitan High School that was downtown near City Hall was construed, that was the environment where, without pressure for those kids who were beyond their time, they could get their education in an isolated setting and really be in an environment that was most conducive to the circumstances that were attendant to them. I seriously question how that's happening by mainstreaming kids who've demonstrated a propensity not to be able to handle a regular academic setting, and you are now having 16-year-olds as freshmen, 18-year-olds as sophomores, 20-year-olds as juniors, and thinking that they're not going to be impacted by being the oldest kid in the class. We aren't even discussing the negative impact that if these kids become malcontent on the campus, that they can create for other kids that are there in the regular high school setting, trying to advance and do the things that they're ordinarily supposed to do. But this falls to me as a policy failure. And the policy failure is shared by prior trustee groups, and it's now on your lap. What are you prepared to do, not to get ankle deep, but to get chest deep in a situation where we've got to determine whether this method of implementation is the best way to handle these kids that are troubled?
Thank you, Mr.
The
Alexander.
community.
Your time has expired.
Thank you.
Gerald Britt, followed by Damon Tyler.
Reverend Gerald Britt, Vice President of External Affairs for City Square, and I'm here to ask that the trustees approve the budget amendment for $60,000 to pilot a participatory budgeting process for the 3 schools in DISD. I believe that this is not only right, but it is a further example of the district's commitment to racial equity and transparency for our district. Representing City Square, we applaud this consideration and urge its swift passage. On another note, I want to say that we do stand firmly with the parents and the district representatives and community on the subject of J.L. Patton, and with the representatives and community District 5 representing their request for Pinkston. Thank you.
Damon Tyler, followed by Clifford Sherman. Clifford Sherman, followed by Ola Allen.
My name is Clifford Sherman. I live at 517 Meadowshire Drive, Dallas, Texas, 75232. I run an alumni service for S.G. Pinkston, class of 69. We have been sit back 50 years. In 1969, overage kids was in our school. The district changed that policy. Now y'all are going back to it without even telling us that it's happening. What's happening? Did y'all forget we didn't forget? Or did y'all think we forgot? We don't understand what's going on. Y'all come to our neighborhoods. Y'all come half-witted. Y'all don't bring out the information. Y'all don't bring the things that you need to inform the people. And then when you do, you only bring part of it. If we ask you questions, you can't answer them. We've been asking for the budget, full budget of L.G. Pinkston New School for months. We have not received the correct paperwork. We don't know what you're doing. We ask y'all to come out to Pinkston and bring Henny Holster with you and all the people that had something to do with Pinkston. Bring it to the auditorium and talk to everybody. Now, on overage kids, we don't need them in our school dropping the scores of the schools that's there because they're already low. Y'all need to take the politics out of education. Put in people that love the kids. If you don't have any kids in this district, won't you move to the district where your kids are? Then we won't have to deal with this because the people that's in the district and working for the district will be working for their kids. If your kids are in the public school, you know what's going on. But We don't know what's going on because y'all won't bring us the information. I'm done with it.
Dwayla Howard, followed by Shania Anderson.
Good evening, Dwayla Howard, 1812 London Lane, Arlington, Texas. In regards to agenda item 7.09, the proposed agreement with Proximity Learning up to $800,000 over 5 years. The district currently uses Apex Learning, a comprehensive computer-based learning system for students to obtain initial and previously lost credits. Instead of using the money to pay someone else to educate our students, why not use the money to hire teacher assistants, allow the students to gain initial credit using Apex Learning, a product the district is already paying for. That way, you build capacity with TAs who may be on the fence about becoming a full-time teacher. You may potentially gain a full-time teacher, save money, and take full advantage of the resources the district is currently paying for. Agenda item 7.11, $76,000 to rent a space for a STEM expo is unacceptable. There's already an agenda item, 7.07, to rent space at UNT Dallas. Could this event not be held at this venue and be added to this pending agreement to save $76,000 for the district? I'm a proud graduate, 1994 of Dallas ISD. My daughter is a 2016 graduate of Dallas ISD. My son began his education in Dallas ISD. I do and will forever have a vested interest in Dallas ISD. I currently work for an educational entity that caters to the very students we're speaking about when we close Patton. I fully understand the accountability system that is in place, albeit unfair, but for the alternative accountability of a campus like Patton, there are solutions. There is a lack of resources, funding, and teachers in other educational entities that cater to these students. Dallas ISD, however, has a superintendent who has grown the academic achievement of various grades, influenced other superintendents to vote and pass HB 3, but a solution for these students out of cohort can't be found? Truly not. Currently, the age limit for students is 21. So will the board raise the age limit to accommodate students who may start at the age of 20 and need to stay in school till they're 23? Has the Research and Development Department looked into other models of schools that serve out-of-cohort students, such as Mesquite ISD? Charter schools that serve out-of-cohort students exist because Dallas ISD has failed to adequately meet the needs of these students, not just those who knew about Patton. Strong leadership that helped Patton serve students has moved around to other locations, and leaders who do not understand how to serve these students were in place when Patton received their F. Dallas ISD has the resources to help Patton gain their CCMR points and CTE.
Shania Anderson, followed by Brandon Para. Shania Anderson, Brendan Para, followed by Andrew Kirk. Jonathan Cartwright, followed by Patty Walker.
Hello, my name is Andrew Kirk, and I'm a sixth-year teacher at Sunset High School here in Dallas ISD. All 6 of my years in the teaching profession have been under TEI, which I believe gives me some perspective in regards to its rollout and implementation since 2014. While most discussions of TEI understandably foreground its impact on teachers, its impact on support professionals is often overlooked. It's this impact that I want to address in greater detail tonight. As you know, recently Dallas ISD was given the benefit of 2 separate votes of confidence, the recent school finance bill and last year's tax ratification vote. Both resulted in significant infusions of new resources. A great deal of this new funding went to support the so-called excellence initiatives, and the Teacher Excellence Initiative in particular. Meanwhile, cuts were actually proposed to ratios for safety monitors and counselors last year. The burdens of TEI cannot be overstated. The data used to measure and rank teachers carries a heavy cost to student learning, narrowing curriculum and crowding out activities that may not directly align to rote test prep. Most of these tests are local or campus mandates. The state doesn't even require them. To visualize the impact of TEI, consider not just the month plus of classroom instructional time lost to test administration. Consider also the librarians forced to close their learning spaces to students. Consider the counselors increasingly treating student anxiety and stress. Consider the teacher assistants pulled from students in need to proctor tests. Consider the school clerks and community liaisons asked to divert their time and resources to assist with testing operations. Consider the students who no longer see their schools as caring communities, who no longer feel their needs are supported, whose learning is not valued if it doesn't conform to a narrowly quantifiable definition of mastery. Teachers and support staff work side by side in school communities every day to ensure our students' needs are met. Just as entire communities work to educate our students, entire communities are affected by our current onerous and test-heavy system of evaluation. In the near term, Dallas ISD must decouple evaluation from teacher pay, adopt the T-test instrument, commission an independent audit of the real costs of TEI. In the long term, we must work toward a system that values the craft of teaching, centering peer review, formative feedback, and treating all students as unique learners. Doing so isn't just supporting teachers, but the entire community that our collective labor sustains. Thank you.
Jonathan Cartwright. Jonathan Cartwright, followed by Patty Walker.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Cartwright. I'm 17 years old, and I live at 1433 El Campo Drive in Dallas. I go to the Townview Magnet Center, and I'm grateful for the education I receive. I feel lucky to have great faculty and a great curriculum. And I have been fortunate enough to learn in depth about climate change. And I have learned that the planet is unevenly warming due to human-produced greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. Yet the very institutions that teach me these facts transport their students in fossil fuel-burning vehicles. Therefore, I am here today to ask you to implement a policy for purchasing electric school buses instead of fossil fuel ones. I also urge you to choose an electricity provider that utilizes renewable energy. The school buses could be purchased with bond money and implemented to replace the entire bus fleet at a rate of 100 buses per year for the next 10 years. In school, we are taught that knowledge is power, which is very true. Knowledge is power. And with the Board of Trustees here tonight being the head of Dallas's education system, you hold some of the most knowledge and the most power out of all of us. So I ask you, when will you act? When will you switch to electric buses rather than diesel ones? With diesel being one of the worst polluters of all fossil fuel vehicles, I hope the answer to this question is today. Diesel exhaust has also been linked to causing asthma, and Dallas ISD schools have higher asthma rates than the rest of the U.S., according to the Dallas Morning News. You are the makers of history, in a sense. You nurture us with knowledge so we may one day go down in the books. You also teach us that those who do not learn history are doomed to repeat it. Well then, let us not forget our history of an insecure dependence on fossil fuels, and their history of fluctuations in price and instability on the market. On the other hand, renewables are reliable. Renewable electricity, which must be used to power our school buses, will not and does not suffer price shifts like fossil fuel-generated electricity does. Speaking of prices, renewable energy is rapidly becoming the cheapest option for electricity. Thus, I urge you to act now to implement a policy to purchase electric school buses and a renewably sourced energy provider for them. The price to run electric buses is becoming cheaper. The source that powers them is more stable. The health risks to students are decreased. There is a climate movement coming, and you hold the knowledge and the power to pioneer positive change. It would send such a message of hope to all of us students. Thank you.
Patty Walker, followed by Zachariah Manning.
My name is Zachariah Manning, resident at 8215 Forest Lane, Dallas. I'm a candidate for Dallas County Commissioner, District 1, to unite our communities for a better Dallas County. Graduate of Dallas ISD Roosevelt High School, past PTA president at Preston Hollow Elementary, honorary Texas PTA member for life, and importantly, I was a construction manager, project manager for Dallas ISD, who made a whistleblower complaint regarding misuse of taxpayer money regarding construction projects. Dallas ISD administrators circumvented this board by splitting bids that deprive women and minority contractors from bidding on construction projects. Dallas ISD administrators are up to the same tricks that I blew the whistle about. And now they want us to pony up more tax money in an upcoming 2020 bond. To view the two investigative segments, go to ZachariahManning.com or WFAA Channel 8's website and search Zach Manning, Dallas ISD. If your passion is to build a stable foundation for our kids, join me by texting or calling me at 214-444-9432. Now that I've read from script, let me go off script and say this. So I've heard a lot of talk about closing Patton tonight. Now this is ass backwards. And I'm going to tell you why it is. It was a 20-something-year-old student going to Hillcrest. And that student was removed from Hillcrest. Now you're talking about putting 20-something-year-old students back into schools with 14, 15, 16-year-old students. How backwards is that? Okay. Now, I'm going to put you on actual legal notice here tonight, in front of everybody that's here. In Texas, you have to be 21 years of age to purchase a handgun, 18 years of age to purchase a rifle. Now, these kids that you're going to put in these schools have the ability to do that and cause chaos in our schools. Think about what you're doing, trustees. Think long and hard. Your kids don't go to these schools. So think about it. Thank y'all.
Arthur Fleming, followed by Katie Bennett.
Good evening. Arthur Fleming, NAACP Dallas, chairman of the Contaminated Water Committee. As y'all know, I've come and talked about this issue quite a few times. The water is still dirty. The water's still dirty. Are y'all going to do anything about the water being dirty? The water in the southern sector, as you know, is dirty. The only clean water is in the northern section. So what are y'all going to do about the water? Are y'all going to clean it up? I know y'all can't say nothing, and that's good right now. Are y'all going to clean the water up? That's what we want to know. Our kids are drinking it. You know it's bad for them. The EPA have told you there's no safe level of lead or chemicals for kids to drink. But you all it just seem to be, it doesn't faze you, doesn't touch you, doesn't move you. I hope that you'll think about the water. We got an equality committee, equity. Well, we need equality in the water. Right now we got like white water and black water. So let's get the water cleaned up. If it's financially prohibitive, and I don't think it is because you guys are saving $500 million a year off the budget of undispersed funds. So I know we have the money, so let's clean the water up. There's a lack of budget transparency. We need an audit of DISD. an independent audit so we can know exactly what you guys are doing. Are y'all following policies, state policies? I don't think so, because the contracting process is totally screwed up. South Oak Cliff. Now, you know, stucco. Why you guys want to give South Oak Cliff stucco? I mean, it's got brick now, but you want to replace it with stucco. And after monitoring these processes and looking at the quality of work you guys are doing, basically what's going on is that's a money-saving thing for who? Who's making the money when y'all do that? When y'all promise us brick, then you give us stucco. Well, I'm going to leave you with a story about and y'all know the story. So some of y'all know about Three Little Pigs, right? And like the straw house, the wood house, the stucco house, and the brick house. We want brick. We don't want stucco. So could you all give us brick? Because as you know, the big bad wolf came and got everybody but the person that was in the brick. So give us the brick. Thank you.
Kathy Bennett, followed by Tracy Wallace.
Good evening, Board. I'm Kathy Bennett, and I live at 1419 Kings Highway in Dallas, Texas. I'm here to ask each of you to do something easy and life-changing for children and helpful to special education teachers. I provided you with the form you personally can submit to DISD to request cameras in the self-contained classrooms in your area. Parents can request them, but the law also allows for school board members to request them also. You know about this law, and most parents do not. If we can have Ring cameras at our door, body cameras for the police, doggy daycare cams, we should have cameras in all self-contained classrooms in the special education department to ensure the protection of everyone in the classroom, vulnerable students and teachers. Hopefully, if you submit this document to DISD, maybe they will install cameras in a timely manner, which they have not done for parents. I have also attached a document from the Texas Association of School Board Legal Services that answers common questions about the law and applications for school districts. So you don't have to take my word for it. You can see it. It's an easy form. I almost filled out part of it for you, but I think that you guys are smart enough to do it yourself. And if you're going to tell me that you're looking out for our special education students, put your name on that paper and turn it in so that these students will have protection in their classroom. Thank you.
Tracy Wallace, followed by Molly Rook.
Good evening. My name is Tracy Wallace. I live at 2631 Lake Forest Court, Dallas, 75214. I'm a longtime Dallasite, born here. I'm a mother of a current DISD student, and I'm a member of the Stakeholder Advisory Committee for CCAP, the Comprehensive Environmental Climate Action Plan that the City of Dallas is working on right now. Many of you may know about the recent Poverty Now report regarding Dallas that shows we have a sizable number of children who live in poverty. You may also know that children who live in poverty are exposed to environmental hazards at a higher rate than their middle class or upper class companions. In Dallas, African American children suffer asthma at a rate of 2.5 times that of their white counterparts. With a view to both equity and health, zero CO2 emission electric school buses completely eliminate diesel particulate exposure, which is particularly hard on children with asthma. As an entity with a large fleet of buses, DISD has a strong responsibility to positively contribute to the city's climate mitigation by providing a 100% electric bus fleet. A fully electric fleet offers tremendous economic savings over the lifetime of the buses, while offering an opportunity for STEM-focused workforce to grow our own electric bus automotive technicians through high school programs similar to DISD's own electrification and solar hub. Electric buses can be powered by solar energy on our schools, which are a built-in learning lab for our students, saving DISD millions on energy spending over the lifetime of solar arrays and the buses. Solar produces a minimum of 25 years of electricity powered by the sun. We have a solar spill every day. That's a good thing. Yet, a 25-year system pays for itself in about 10 years. After that, you're generating free, clean energy. Leaving the air clean for our children and our city. So please do what is best for overall our world through climate mitigation, what Dallas does, other large cities will do and are doing, and it's our responsibility to take that place. So I strongly encourage you to move aggressively on buying electric buses and putting solar on schools to promote a cleaner, healthier environment for our children. Thank you.
Molly Rook, followed by Jimmy Hosh.
Hi, I'm Molly Rook, 5825 Palm Lane, Dallas, Texas. Global Climate Strike Week, which started last Friday, has brought millions around the world and thousands in North Texas to demand strong, swift climate action. I also serve on the Stakeholder Advisory Committee of the City of Dallas's Comprehensive Environmental and Climate Action Plan, which is now in the development and seeking input from citizens. I have handouts for you about the process and the meetings. Another place to get information and provide input is at the website dallasclimateaction.com. In the absence of climate action from state and federal government, cities and school districts in Texas and around the U.S. and globally are stepping up to take action to do what they can to deal with the climate crisis, to protect their residents, businesses, and economy from increasingly frequent and extreme weather events. Former Dallas Mayor Rawlings said the city of Dallas is actively working towards building a greener, more resilient city. Addressing climate change should not be a controversial or partisan issue, and local leaders, that's you, and the marketplace should work together in pursuing climate action. But cities can't be successful without school districts joining with businesses and others adopting climate actions. I'm here today to ask that you adopt climate action policies, including replacement of diesel school buses with electric ones, replacing dirty grid power with 100% renewable electricity, installing solar on schools, and other initiatives. This would be best laid out in an environmental or climate action plan, which could be developed without a great deal of effort in coordination with the City of Dallas, local experts, and looking at the numerous school plans and initiatives already in place elsewhere. Without policies set in place by the trustees directing staff to make climate and clean air priorities in decision-making for transportation, energy, and other areas, Dallas ISD will continue to make decisions that unnecessarily harm and put at risk the health, welfare, and future of their students, the community, and region. Many initiatives for climate action are also initiatives that improve air quality. These changes need to happen quickly. Cutting our greenhouse gas emissions in half in 10 years still may give only a 50% chance of avoiding irreversible chain reactions. We can do better, and we must. I stand ready to help. Thank you.
Jimmy Hosh, followed by Carrie Schweitzer.
My name is Jimmy Hosh, 6715 Rolling Vista Drive. I'm the numbers guy, so I'm going to talk about cost of ownership tonight. I looked for the cost of ownership of your buses, and I couldn't find it. So I went to municipal bus records, and if you run a municipal bus for 10 years, you've spent $1.4 million. That's a diesel bus. On the other hand, if you do exactly the same job with an electric bus, you've only spent $1 million. That's a 29% savings over a fossil fuel bus. You just got through buying 60 of those really expensive fossil fuel buses, and you have plans for 100 more next year. You've already had people ask you to clean up the environment with electric buses. I'm telling you, save money with electric buses. 1 in 4 children in this city have got asthma. And by hauling those children to school in that diesel bus, where the pollution inside the bus is often higher than it is outside the bus, those children are having more asthma attacks. So if you just estimate that they're spending maybe $1,000 a year in extra medical costs for their asthma, the price comes that you're loading onto the parents of those children. You're offloading your costs onto the parents. It costs those parents $15,000 a year to get those kids well again. The other item is the CO2 issue. Now, those children that you're educating are going to have to deal with the carbon dioxide that those buses are spewing into the atmosphere at the tune of about 14 pounds of CO2 per day per bus. Now, when you calculate that out over 175 days a year for 10 years, that means that one bus is putting out 2,450 tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. That's nearly 6 times what the bus weighs. Now, the people who make a living studying the climate say that we cannot tolerate as a society more than 350 parts per million carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Currently, we have 415 and rising. So your students are going to have to suck that carbon dioxide back out of the atmosphere in order to get this world livable again. So let's estimate how much is that going to cost. Now, let's not use today's numbers. Let's use the best numbers we can get for what it might cost to get that CO2 out of the atmosphere in the future.
Your time has expired. Carrie Schweitzer, followed by Tiffany Bradshaw.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Schweitzer. I live at 5639 Eastside Avenue in Dallas. I'm the parent of a former DISD student. I speak to you tonight as Global Climate Week draws to a conclusion. If you've been watching the news, you know that last Friday, an estimated 4 million people around the world, including here in Dallas, took to the streets to demand immediate, accountable action to fight the climate crisis. These marches were led largely by young people and inspired by a 16-year-old student. They're demanding a livable future. As parents, career educators, committed elected leaders, our focus is always on the future we want for our students. Our mission is their success. We are never not thinking about their future, but the desirable future we want for our students is threatened. Greta Thunberg, that inspiring 16-year-old, told us, act like your house is on fire because it is. We are in a crisis. What will we do? As leaders of one of the most important institutions in our city with significant financial assets, with access to regional, state, and federal leaders, what are you doing to address the climate crisis and save this house, our children's future? I'm saying do it now and do it faster. I was here last summer advocating that DISD purchase clean, renewable, low-cost energy. What's your decision? If you haven't done it, why? I've heard others here advocate for changing to electric buses that other U.S. school districts are already using. So you do have options to make bold, reasonable choices that will reduce greenhouse gases and our reliance on fossil fuels. But be bolder still. DISD's Education Foundation can divest from fossil fuels. Now, this might sound crazy in Big D, where big business reigns supreme, but remember, our house, our future is on fire. Currently, the City of Dallas is developing a comprehensive climate action plan that takes these issues into consideration. And are you at the table Join them and leverage mutually desired outcomes. The Dallas Community College District now is developing a sustainable infrastructure plan. Consult with them and leverage leadership for net zero new and renovated buildings. DISD plans to launch an infrastructure bond campaign next year. As an engaged citizen, I expect to see bold plans that reduce emissions and support a healthy, livable community. And I will tell my friends who vote to demand the same. Our house is on fire. For our students, take action. Thank you.
Tiffany Bradshaw, followed by Reverend Horace Bradshaw.
Hello. I had a whole speech, but everybody said everything that I was going to say. So let me just summarize. First of all, I'm Tiffany Bradshaw, 4245 Huckleberry Drive, Dallas, Texas. I am a DISD student. Well, not now, but I was. And my son goes to South Oak Cliff High School. My son is a legacy kid. He went, his dad went, his granddad went. My son is Horace Bradshaw the 6th, right? So listen, we appreciate you all's position. We appreciate what the board has done. But we're all asking for the same thing. We all care about our kids. And it seems like what we care about, you all don't care about. The proof is in the pudding. Okay, we come to these meetings and we talk and we talk and we talk, but it seems like there's no evidence of anything, of any of our input being implemented. You guys are hiring these consultants and money is being dished out to consultants who have no stake in our communities. They don't know us. And then you want to compare their results with like Fort Worth ISD and Houston ISD. That's not impressive to me. They're having major problems. And it's like the star is running our community. Why? My kid is being judged by what he made on the STAR test. So if he made high grades, then hey, he's a great student. If he made low grades, then get out. He's a patent kid. No, this is ridiculous. This is really ridiculous. It's so ridiculous that South Oak Cliff, we got $52 million and a couple of other $1 million to build our school, right? Great, right? But you all are not replacing lead pipes. You're not giving my principal money to hire the effective teachers that he needs to hire. Our dates have been pushed back. It's getting ridiculous now. Time is money. Okay, I understand real estate. I understand construction. So the longer you hold off on projects, that's money being wasted. And you guys can't account for anything. We have been asking for financials. We've been asking for transparency. We've been asking for it all. And we have not gotten it. Yet and still, you want your contracts to be renewed. I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand how come our kids aren't getting the same quality of education, the same equity across the board. We are behind. Forget all the accolades that you've gotten about the innovative magnet schools, and that's nothing. When you come on Huckleberry Drive, when you step foot at Village Fair at South Oak Cliff High School, our kids have to go to class. One day, they're sitting next to their friend. The next day, that friend is gone. They are going through things, and they are making it. We have many distinctions. We have raised our scores, our truancy rates are down, and yet and still my kids are going to sit there and drink lead water. And AC units that we told you guys to replace are now not being replaced, and they have already gone out on a $52 million building. You buy a $52 million house and your AC doesn't work, see what happens.
Reverend Horace Bradshaw, followed by Myron Walker.
Amen. That's my daughter-in-law. My name is Reverend Horace Bradshaw, 4245 Huckleberry Circle, Dallas, Texas, 75216. I want to first start off, there's a story in the Bible where Abraham is talking to the Lord, and the Lord don't want to not allow Abraham to know what's about to happen to this city. And I tell this story not at the expense of the patent kids, but at the love that Abraham, the compassion that Abraham had for those people in the city. And so I'm talking to you, DISD. Have that same kind of compassion toward Patton that Abraham had toward the people in the city. He said, if there's 100, will you spare the city? If there's 50, will you spare the city? If there's 25, will you spare the city? If there's 1, will you spare the city? I believe our kids at Patton are worthy to be spared. I think we need to keep that school open, and because we have a group of kids that's willing to learn. And if your rules and regulation hinder the ministry, I tell my people at the church all the time, it's the rule and regulation need to be changed. The ministry must go on. The mission must go on. These kids want to learn. They want to be prepared to face society. And so let's do that. And then in Bernadette Nuttenall, I just watched Chef last night. He said to the police chief, after he getting fired, do you think that make me less powerful or more powerful? Sister, you are powerful. God, keep up the good work. It's Bernadette Nuttenall. I guess she's gone. South Oak Cliff. I want to say this. Thank you all for supporting my brother, Maxie Johnson, through the death of his child. And I just want to lift up the board for doing that. Some of you have even sent out letters to me saying that you supported me in the death of my nephew. And so I want to thank you all for that. But South Oak Cliff is an eyesore right now. And we have neighbors telling me, man, they're not going to leave school like that, are they? So we had meetings about brick. I went through the school the other day, and tile is green, orange, red, blue. And they said that this is to stimulate learning. It has nothing to do with South Oak Cliff. We expect to walk in through those front doors and see South Oak Cliff, but we're seeing Brian Adams, we're seeing W.T. White, we're seeing Carter, we're seeing Hillcrest. We don't need to be stimulated by them. We're gold and white. We want gold and white in our school. We bleed gold and white. And I want to say that we're about to run out of time. There's a 2020 bond about to come up. We got South Oak Cliff, we got Roosevelt, we got Pinkston, we got Kimball, got Carter. And if you don't take care of us, we won't take care of that bond. When we come long and we come strong, Maxie Johnson got 3,200 votes. It's going to be much more than that if you don't take care of South Oak Cliff. It's not bragging. It's not a threat.
Thank
it's
you,
just
Reverend
a fact.
Bradshaw.
God bless you.
Myron Walker, followed by Russell Fish.
Yes, my name is Myron Walker. I reside at 1081 Suffolk Lane, City Hill, Texas, 75104. I'd like to say good evening to the board and Dr. Henry Helser. I work in the IT Client Service Department. I've been an employee with Dallas ISD since 2008. I started out as a sub, and now I'm in the IT Client Service Support Services Department. And we're here today to voice our frustrations with the compensation package and the raises for 2019-2020. We was told by our management that they would use the TASB, which is Texas Association of School Board, as a consultant. And just some of the criteria that we were told they used, that a number of us have bachelor's degrees and master's degrees, but TASB only used the criteria used to rate to set the scale for the raises were high school education, you only need a high school equivalent of a high school diploma, 1-year experience, college degree carried no points, technical certification carried no points. And we're here working at an industry that sells education, but our education doesn't do anything for us in our everyday working here at DISD. And another thing that this is our first time here. This is our second review, and the first time the review in 2015 with the same results. The bulk of the money went to the upper management and the select few employees. And another thing that most of the technicians, some have been there since the department was established. With the IT Client Service Department established the CBT title in 2010. Okay, TASB said that in order to meet the mid-level, he had to have 15 years experience. How can you have 15 years experience in the department when the department is only 9 years old? So it doesn't make any sense. So we're asking for an audit on this because we see that there was $6.7 million allocated for this review, and but we all got minimal raises, and 90% of us are still in labor grade 1, which we're not even qualified to reach the midpoint. We've been supporting this, and our workload is much bigger than any district in North Texas. We've got the largest wireless network in North Texas. We got 159,000 kids, numerous labs in every school, which got wireless wireless devices, wired devices, labs, and teachers and staff, and we got some people who are mobile every day. So we're asking the board we need an audit on this to see where this money is going, because it's not making it to the workers, the people who's out in the trenches every day. So we need some help with this, and we're asking for the board to help us with this. Thank you.
Russell Fish, followed by Rosemary Kurtz.
My name is Russell Fish, 3333 Rankin, Dallas. I'm with the Open Records Project. I'm here today at the invitation of Trustee Joyce Foreman. Some of you may remember us as the group that sent Dallas Superintendent Yvonne Gonzalez to federal prison. Before that, we secured the indictment of the entire Austin School Board and sent Assistant Superintendent Kay Penzick to prison for fraud. Trustee Foreman has asked us to look at potential corruption involving your consent calendar. For those of you in the audience, the consent calendar is a list of items that are voted on without discussion because they are supposed to have unanimous consent. The board modified the rules so that unanimous consent is no longer required and questionable items are therefore easier to slip by. The consent calendar exists to speed up meetings, but it is often used to hide expenditures that cannot withstand public scrutiny. These include conflicts of interest and quid pro quo payoffs. For those in the audience, a conflict of interest means voting on items in which you might receive a personal benefit that conflicts with the interests of the school districts. An example might be voting to help out your employer or a friend's business to the disadvantage of the school district. A quid pro quo payoff means I'll do something for you if you do something for me. The district's council can explain the consequences of such behavior. This behavior is a felony and you can be sent to jail. She can also explain that neither she nor the district can defend you against a criminal charge. Dallas City Council has extensive experience with consent calendar abuse. Several years ago, Dallas City Attorney Tom Perkins briefed council members on how to, quote, manage the calendar without getting caught. His legal advice was apparently flawed. Councilman Don Hill recently died while serving 18 years in prison for bribery. Similarly, former Councilman Dwayne Caraway just began a 5-year sentence at the Federal Correctional Institute at Seagoville. On the other hand, life turned out quite fine for former City Attorney Perkins, who joined a local law firm and practices in federal court. Trustee Foreman will be asking the board to reinstate the traditional unanimous consent calendar rules. If you are the honest trustee that some of the public believe you to be, you will vote to reinstate the unanimous rule. On the other hand, if you are less than honest, we may be seeing you again soon.
Rosemary Kurtz, followed by Shakira Robinson.
My name is Rosie Kurtz. I'm a teacher at a comprehensive DISD high school. One of the phrases used by the proponents of TEI is that it brings the best teachers to the most in-need students. It mystifies me how they keep spreading this idea when the very opposite is true. Half of a Category A teacher's TEI score includes their own standardized test scores, the school STAR score, the student survey, and the student learning objective. Having pay directly tied to these components means teachers are incentivized to go to schools where they can most easily achieve maximum points. Magnet and choice schools are more likely to achieve higher standardized test scores and thus a higher school STAR score. Their student populations are kids who have a high level of internal motivation and or parents who have the time and ability to play a more active role in seeking the best education for their children. In the schools with admission requirements, many students wouldn't be there if they hadn't already proven their ability to score highly on standardized tests. While I have no doubt that excellent teachers are at these schools, having had them myself, there are all kinds of factors that help those teachers achieve their high scores, in addition to their teaching abilities. Our students are not learning in a vacuum, but TEI acts as if the teacher is the only thing affecting student outcomes. This means that it is to a teacher's advantage to move to a school with selected, high-achieving students. Teachers are punished for going to schools with more in-need students who require more attention and resources. The student survey has a similar problem. The students at the choice schools generally want to be there. As we all know, your experience with a place or a person is more likely to be positive if you chose to take part in the first place. Again, this doesn't mean the teachers that do get great reviews don't deserve them, just that circumstances preemptively tilt the scales in their favor. Many choice schools have an area of focus, and kids chose those schools because they were already independently interested in the subjects. So when a student gets a question like, how often do you talk about topics from this class outside of school, the answer is far more likely to be positive. Again, this means teachers are disincentivized to go to schools with more in-need students who need someone to help spark interest in subjects, who need more guidance to imagine their future. As long as teacher pay is tied to things like test scores, there will be a strong disincentive for teachers to work with struggling student populations. This seems glaringly obvious. TEI does not just need a few tweaks. The whole underlying basis of the system is flawed in a way that hurts our most at-risk children. Teachers are punished for working with ESL students, punished for working at schools with lower STAR scores, punished for teaching on-level classes instead of advanced ones. So what happens when teachers are punished for these things? The in-need or at-risk students are left behind as the possibly great teachers are driven away from them for the sake of their own livelihood, either to choice schools or to different districts. The Board of Trustees, the superintendent, the DISD staff, and especially the Dallas community need to think about this when they voice support for TEI. You support incentivizing academic abandonment of the children that need us the most.
Shakira Robinson, followed by Dolores Wolf. Shakira Robinson, Dolores Wolf, followed by Claudia Fowler. Claudia Fowler, followed by Jacqueline Martinez.
I'm Dolores Wolf. Should I wait?
Okay. Go ahead. Where'd she go? Dolores Wolf? You can go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Dolores Wolf. I live at 2125 Ash Grove Way, Dallas, Texas, 75228. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your service. I can see that this is a very difficult job. I don't come down here very often, but I can see it's a true challenge. I'd like to talk to you about an issue or concern at J.L. Long Middle School. My daughter is in 8th grade at J.L. Long. J.L. Long is an excellent school. I have a lot of respect for its principal. There is one issue that does need to be addressed, and I've tried to resolve it, and I'm here to seek your assistance. J.L. Long and Woodrow Wilson are the designated school for the deaf in DISD. About 4 years ago, my daughter became abruptly deaf in one ear. I had never thought about the school for the deaf before, and it suddenly became a top priority on my list. As a result, we live outside of that particular school zone, although we are in DISD, and we transferred our daughter to J.L. Long and also enrolled her in American Sign Language because we're concerned that she'll lose additional hearing from additional tumors, which is what caused the hearing loss. For the most part, the program at J.L. Long has been amazing, except for American Sign Language. We've had a number of concerns over the last few years or 2 years with maintaining teachers. This year, from day one, we have not had a sign language teacher in that classroom at all. The class has been used as more of a study period. There has been a TA in the class, but as far as I can tell, there is no sign language learning going on at all. I have asked in writing for every single shred of paperwork that my daughter's hand has touched in that class, and I have not one single piece of paper in my hand. My daughter is an A student, so I'm very concerned by that. There has been a substitute teacher that has been put in that classroom, but I have been told that that is temporary and that a virtual program is going to be retained in order to start teaching that language. This is your school for the deaf. You can do better than virtual classrooms for hearing impaired students. I urge you to not implement this. I think the district is also leaving itself vulnerable to complaints with the United States Department of Education, Office of Civil Rights. You're teaching foreign languages to hearing students with live teachers and preparing to teach impaired students with computers. Please, please reconsider. Hire a teacher and increase that salary substantially. It is hard to find this particular type of teacher. Thank you.
Claudia Fowler, followed by Jacqueline Martinez. Jacqueline Martinez, followed by Nancy Rodriguez.
Jacqueline Martinez, 1026 Kings Highway. Good evening, distinguished Board of Trustees and Superintendent Michael Hinojosa. My name is Jacqueline Martinez, and I am a teacher in Dallas ISD. This year will mark my 11th year as an educator, 8 of which I have served this district, all in Oak Cliff. I am here today because I want to share with you what I have currently been experiencing at the campus that I am new to this year that I feel needs to be brought to your attention. The week before students returned to school, I informed the custodial team that one of the AC units in my classroom was not working. Not once did it cross my mind that this was an issue that would not be addressed immediately. Tomorrow is the last day of the first 6 weeks of school, and this AC unit has yet to be fixed. Before I get into how this has affected me and my students, let me say that I was informed by my colleagues that this AC has been an ongoing issue for years before I arrived at this campus. Sorry, I lost my place. Now you may be tempted to think that I am here to complain that it's just a little hot in my room. For the record, the temperature in my room, aside from the first 2 very hot weeks of school, is not the issue. It's normal. What concerns me is the air quality due to lack of air circulation. I'll start with my students because what happened to several of them in the first weeks of school is what caught my attention and made me question the air quality in the first place. Several of them developed a cough. Innocent enough, it's normal for students to get sick, and teachers know we try to avoid their germs like the plague. But several of them developed several respiratory issues that landed one of them in the hospital the second week of school. He was not sent home the day he wasn't feeling well because he did not have a fever. By the time he was picked up at the end of the day, his parents took him to a clinic where they had to call 911 to rush him to the hospital. The doctor confirmed his oxygen levels were dangerously low, and he stayed in the hospital for several days. As for me, I am not asthmatic, but beginning Labor Day weekend, I began having respiratory issues and have been using an inhaler and a nebulizer to help me breathe better. I have continued showing up to work despite the fact that my working conditions are subpar. My suspicions were confirmed when someone from the environmental department finally showed up last week and confirmed that the room has elevated levels of carbon dioxide. Since then, it has been a back and forth of emails and text messages and phone calls to try to address this issue. I cannot stand up here and accuse you of not caring. My district trustee did what he could to get this addressed, but even with the help of a trustee, this has not been fixed. A quick update. Someone from HVAC came today and promised me it'll take 2 weeks to get the part needed to fix the AC. However, I am now questioning how many other schools are experiencing these kinds of issues, and I'm asking that we take care of this immediately. Thank you.
Nancy Rodriguez, followed by Patrice Zaraga.
Nancy Rodriguez, 6725 Bobolink Drive. I'd like to speak to you about a wonderful DISD program called Multiple Careers Magnet Center, MACMAC. It was originally the William B. Carroll School for students with orthopedic impairments. MACMAC's mission is to become a premier program to prepare interns with disabilities with the necessary skills to reach their maximum potential, which will lead to post-secondary success. Last year, MACMAC had a wait list of over 200 students. The school had a morning program and an afternoon program. This year, the afternoon program was eliminated. The district recently opened career institutes. While this is a good thing, there is no equity for students in SPED. Why would you cut the only vocational program for students with special needs? Tuesday, I went to a meeting titled Parent Advocates for Dallas ISD. The private individuals hosting the event asked the 30 people in attendance to choose Dallas ISD, to change the narrative, to connect, learn, and advocate for the district, not, I might add, for its students. This strikes me as wrong. Several of you were endorsed by an organization that wants to put kids first. While you are looking to attract new families to DISD with choice schools and new programs, don't forget about the children who have been here all along. Don't forget about the children with learning differences and special needs. Don't forget about the truly wonderful teachers at MacMac who do a lot with little. It's hard to advocate for a district that does good things with one hand and crushes the hopes of students with the other hand. I implore you to go on a tour of MacMac and see the joy on the kids' faces because they are learning a trade and feel useful. Please consider expanding MacMac and letting the kids in SPED participate in the wonderful vocational programs you have created. Thank you for your time.
Patrice Zaraga, followed by Kristen DeRocha.
Patrice Zaraga, 4306 Delmar Avenue, Dallas, Texas, 75206. Good evening, everybody. I'm here to talk about my own TEI scorecard. I'm a 16-year veteran in Dallas ISD and a resident of District 2 in the city of Dallas. I currently teach Spanish 2 at a comprehensive high school, Bryan Adams. I love, love, love my school. I love my district, and I adore my kids. And I've been a loyal servant to all, but I don't feel like the district has been loyal back to me. When we heard we were going to get the $5,000 raise and then we didn't get it, it was like a kick in the gut to every one of us. I have very many of my colleagues that work at school with me that have left to go to other districts because they've got this big cloud of TEI hanging over them. They said, I don't want to deal with that anymore. I just want to go and teach children. I want to teach the kids and not be worrying about all this stuff hanging over me. Being judged, being given a number, being given a label, whether it be progressing 1, proficient 2, whatever it is. The kids don't want a label either. They don't want to be labeled as, passing star. Oh, this kid passed 3 stars, this kid passed 2. We need to think about the kids. In my school, we have very hard kids. I get compared to others who don't necessarily have the same student demographics that I do. We teachers make a commitment to teach all of these students. But sometimes the challenges and baggage that the children bring with them is much more than we are able to cut through. I have students with various learning disabilities, students with severe emotional struggles, students who are working to help pay the rent at their home, students who are abused, and more homeless students than I've ever had before. The priority in these kids' lives is not passing a 15% ACP exam. Theirs is survival, becoming the best citizens they can be, and that is one of the things that I take to heart, not just to teach them Spanish, but to teach them to be wonderful, successful citizens of the world. My ACPs, it's not fair. I don't have much time left, but I get compared to students that teach Spanish 2 at other schools that don't have heritage classes. So I get labeled, your Spanish 2 is not that bad because I'm a half a point below, and I heard that 20, 30 times this past year. And in fact, I only have kids that are non-heritage speakers because we have heritage speakers at our class. So I'm actually doing really well because we're not doing apples to apples. It's totally something different. Okay, but that's not taken into account as far as I know on TEI. Also, the student experience surveys, when those came out, one student, I heard her say, hey, I gave this teacher, I hate that person. She's mean. I gave her straight 1s. And if it's a teacher I'm cool with, I give them straight 5s. And the other kids were all saying, oh, yeah, I agree. Shoot, if they're not cool with me, straight 1s. I really don't have time to read all those questions. That affects me, how I take care of my family.
Your time has expired.
Thank you.
Christine DeRocha, followed by Amy Tuwil.
I'm Kristen DeRocha. I live at 10421 Benbrook Drive, Dallas, Texas. I am a DISD parent and a DISD teacher and a homeowner in Dallas. And I just want to say up front that I don't have the luxury of teaching about climate change, even though I teach science, because it's not on the test. As a teacher, I am a proficient 3 DTR teacher. I received a very high score this year because I worked my freaking tail off and I love those damn kids. But I no longer want my pay tied to my evaluation score. The stress is unbelievable and unsustainable. I spend my days triangulating around test questions, praying that what I teach will be on the non-transparent test that the powers that be create without any of my input. I'm very afraid of a score drop and then, therefore, a salary drop. Y'all keep saying TEI is working, but what about subjects when there's no STAR tests? My 2 children are in DISD as well. I have a 10th grader at Bryan Adams and a 12th grader at Woodrow Wilson. My 12th grader at Woodrow Wilson has had 5 French teachers in the 4 years she's been there. And now she is at risk of not being able to get the IB diploma because she knows no French. Those teachers are being run off for some reason. I'm not sure what they are. And, of course, our achievement ratings, we're talking about TEI improving achievement, but they're not really talking about French. And French is really important for our IB students. My son on the other side of the lake, all the English 1 teachers from last year are gone. This year, 4 out of his 5 academic teachers are brand new, and 2 of them are Teach for America. Also, all my daughter's IB teachers from Woodrow, 72% of them are gone that were there from her freshman through her junior year. So I just kind of feel like this is not just my own personal anecdote, and I kind of comb around looking for information on vacancies. I'm trying to figure out, like, what is the real story on turnover in DISD, because I really honestly don't think that turnover and churn is good for kids. And I do think that most of it has to do with TEI and top-down micromanagement. Teachers are leaving and kids are losing. And like somebody earlier said, you don't have to live it because your kids aren't in DISD. Mine are. I can't afford private school. Because you guys are paying teachers based on how they do compared to all the other teachers in an unfair system that has been debunked by the American Statistical Association's, teachers are leaving and heading for one of 2 things, either better pay or less stress. Topping out at $58,500. And now, 80% of our teachers are making less than 5-year veteran teachers in Irving ISD. Last thing I want to say is I want to give a voice to my colleagues who are missing the cut score by 1 point because they choose to work at our campus, Bryan Adams. We lose 2 points on our scorecards because of the school star part on the scorecard. We cannot get above a 3. I'm not sure why, because all we ever told was star. Love you. Bye.
Amy Tawil, followed by Sergio Marino.
Hi, my name is Amy Tawil, 1330 Rainbow Drive, Dallas, Texas 75208. As taxpayers, we hope our boards and our councils are able to collaborate and make the best decisions for our school district and our city as a whole. But as constituents, we want our elected officials to represent us specifically. In 1973, DISD was ordered by legislature to adopt a single-member district system. This was to ensure fair representation. Our city has figured out a way around single-member districts by buying trustee seats using big business, PACs, reform nonprofits, organizations like Commit, Leadership ISD, and partnerships to create a machine with an army that is virtually unstoppable. This machine has created a very imbalanced and dysfunctional school board. This take-no-prisoners style of campaigning and election process is detrimental to our democracy and detrimental to our political decency. I have personally felt this political indecency as I am being investigated by DISD's Office of Professional Responsibility because a supporter of Mr. Mackey thinks I don't deserve to participate in this political process, that I don't have a right to a political opinion, that I don't get to participate in our trustee election process. If I were allowed to use the screen to show video clips from past board meetings, we would all be appalled by the behavior shown to the women who have held, or who will hold board positions. Meeting after meeting, fellow trustees have spoken to Joyce Foreman, Audrey Pinkerton, Bernadette Nuttall, and Elizabeth Jones in demeaning, divisive, degrading manners. This behavior is unacceptable and reprehensible, coming from the men who are pushing social, emotional learning and well-being. Maybe you, the men sitting at this horseshoe, should be the role models for the initiatives that you are pushing. Because our school board has become an overbearing 8-to-1 boys club, We should value the women on our school board and hope to elect more women. Women tend to lead with a more holistic and self-reflective approach. Women are better listeners and communicators. Women are multitaskers and motivated by challenges. I am speaking tonight calling for a stop to this unprofessional behavior shown by school board members towards the women who will sit with you shoulder to shoulder representing our school district. It is destructive, it's embarrassing, and we don't allow it in the classroom, and we should not allow it in the boardroom.
Thank you. Sergio Marino, followed by Barry Jacobs. Sergio Marino, Barry Jacobs, followed by Dela Mendez. Kevin Hopper, followed by David Lee.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kevin Hopper, and I'm a third-year world geography teacher at Bryan Adams High School. Prior to teaching, I worked for several years outside of the state as a freelance technician for McGraw-Hill Education, as well as several other large organizations, but I am from Dallas. I knew nothing about TEI before deciding it was my calling to move back to Dallas to work with Dallas students. But it will certainly be TEI that forces my hand to leave Dallas ISD and the state of Texas if it is copied across the state. Since joining the district as a first-year teacher, I have worked as a curriculum writer for social studies, content lead for my World Geography PLC, and I'm here to share some observations. Across my campus, STAR-tested subjects receive the vast majority of material and administrative support. This leads to lost opportunities for student growth. In math and science, there is a disproportionate focus on freshman STAR-tested courses. Later courses become intervention courses for freshman STAR. The example, geometry, students no longer do proofs. Instead, students use basic geometric principles to solve simple algebraic equations. In order to improve students' data, students are trained to use calculators rather than show their work and answer problems by hand or mental math. Okay, TEI leads to the devaluation of content subjects that are not STAR-tested. Students enter my class not knowing oceans and continents, and they leave my class not knowing oceans and continents because they need to know very little about geography in order to pass the ACP, which the administrator's priority is to pass the ACP, impressed upon teachers and their lessons by TEI. In Dallas ISD, we teach conceptual geography, not regional, which is a curriculum designed to support the only high school tested STAR subject in social studies, U.S. history, which is taken during the junior year. We are held accountable to ACPs, which are poorly written and frequently not aligned to state standards or district-provided curriculum. I was a curriculum writer. ACP-tested subjects are put on the same bell curve as STAR-tested subjects, despite the significant discrepancies in resources received from campus administrators and the district. TEI forces all subjects into a tested mindset, which narrows the scope of what is taught to a low bar of answering poorly written and subjective test questions correctly. In social studies, rather than teaching the critical thinking skills necessary to analyze primary and secondary documents, the game becomes about teaching students to correctly answer multiple choice questions according to state-sponsored ideology. The de facto situation is that TEI incentivizes teachers and administrators to get struggling students out of their classroom and out of their schools.
Kobe Hupel, followed by Marcus Russell.
How y'all doing this evening? My name is Marcus Russell. I stay at 2654 Gooch Drive. I'm co-founder of the Community Engagement Activist Group. I also work for DCCD for the past 10 years, working in tutoring programs, Upward Bound, and Text Prep. The House Bill 3, which was signed in by Texas Governor Greg Abbott in June 2019, increased compensation for teachers and other personnel using $2 billion out of the $11.6 billion that was approved. I believe all teachers will be getting a minimum of a 1.5% increase this year, a far cry from the 5,000 people were being told during the legislative session. Under TEI, teachers have had their salaries stagnant because TEI uses a quota system. Only a few teachers can score at the top level. Even if you improve year after year and score higher on the TEI scoreboard, the goalposts or moved and you still can't receive a raise. There is a complete lack of transparency. Over the summer months, surrounding districts already knew how much their raise would be for that year. Not DISD. Where is the communication? It is absurd. Dallas ISD employees sign a contract without knowing their salaries until they've been teaching for a month. What other professions require you to sign a contract before knowing your salary? TEI requires even more teaching hours to instead be devoted to testing. To truly play the TEI game, it's incentives educators to teach the test, something educators did not sign up for. Also, students in my area, which are low income, tell me that they have limited access to educational materials like textbooks and other technology and are subjected to the same tests as students who have access to those educational tools that enable them to succeed in the TEI curriculum. With disparities in education come disparities in wealth, family structure, and aspirations, which should be all took into account when giving standard tests. There are cases where this system actually improves education and helps students prepare for the future. The problem is that every school is held to the same standards, not taking into account the fact that each school is unique and each student is unique. Education should be fluid, adjusting to the needs of the student and not forcing the student to fit the mold of a test curriculum. There has to be more efficient and just way for students to get educated properly, prepared for the world they are about to enter, and at the same time, give teachers a clear contract with the amount they are getting paid on it. Thank you.
Hobie Huckel, followed by Lori Kirkpatrick.
Good evening, Dr. Hinojosa and trustees. My name's Hobie Huckel. I'm a librarian at Samuel High School, and I reside at 8527 Brettshire, Dallas, Texas, 75228. Dr. Hinojosa's predecessor, Mike Miles, disrupted the old guard and implemented the Teacher Excellence Initiative, a merit pay scheme that ties teacher salaries to their students' test scores, based on an unsubstantiated use of value-added modeling. The American Statistical Association cautioned against the use of VAMs for individual evaluations because they had too much random error variance. But not to worry. The oligarchs of Dallas wanted TEI, so Miles followed through. He was known for saying the quiet things loud. For example, he once said that novels are a waste of time. That certainly got my attention as a librarian, but then I realized he was not an educator. He was a tester. The only important outcome for him was standardized test scores. From that perspective, obviously literature would be an utter waste of time. Another of his gems was that teachers with more than 5 years' experience were suspect and should be dismissed. For him, teacher churn was a feature, not a bug, of a well-run school system. The less experience, the better. This, of course, has the additional benefit of getting rid of more expensive, experienced educators. Win-win. Which brings us to today. Mike Miles is long gone. Nobody says the quiet things loud anymore, but his TEI and related policies are working as designed. Even though the legislature allocated funds for substantial increases for teachers, librarians, counselors, and others with over 5 years' experience, and somewhat less for those with less, many experienced teachers, librarians, and others find only a 1 or 2% bump, while less experienced colleagues receive thousands. Though technically legal, thanks to the machinations of DISD lobbyists, this violation of legislative intent is in stark contrast to other districts in the area that did the right thing. For example, experienced teachers in Denton will receive an across-the-board raise of $3,000. Many other districts have done the right thing too. Mike Miles is long gone. It's time the TEI followed them. Thank you.
Lori Kirkpatrick, followed by Delna Bryan.
Good evening. My name is Lori Kirkpatrick, and I reside at 6705 Brayburn Drive. I would like to read how one DISD employee summed up TEI. TEI is a strategic way to suppress teacher salaries of the majority and give the appearance of high compensation for all. There is extreme bias in the system, and it will never work. As a parent of a DISD fifth grader, I want teachers to teach my daughter to critically think. I want teachers to captivate her love of learning. I want teachers to be free to use their training and expertise to make moment-to-moment, day-to-day adjustments to guide the learning that's taking place in each child and in every classroom. I don't want teachers ignoring what they know is best and what they know to be right because the pressure of meeting test-based outcomes. One score, one test, one day does not define my child or education. As long as we continue to pay teachers in a reward and punish test-based accountability system, we will continue to get good test takers and not critical thinkers. This system is robbing our children of the education they deserve. There is a sea of academic research discrediting TEI. A sea. I would love the opportunity to share some of it with you. The STAR has been found to be above reading level. The achievement models in the TEI have been discredited. They're unreliable, according to the American Statistical Association, the Economic Policy Institute, the American Educational Research Association, the Center for Educational Assessment, the National Center for Educational Evaluation, the Met Study, and RAND. It's not working. There is substantial, verifiable research telling us it's not. There are teachers telling us it's not. There are students telling us it's not. Without an independent audit by a qualified research professional to justify its use, it's time for an alternative. It's time to regroup and get back to proven reform for our children. Thank you for your service.
Delna Bryan, followed by Sheila Walker.
Good evening, President Henry, Dr. Hinojosa. I am an AP Spanish teacher in this district, but this evening I'm wearing a different hat. I'm speaking for my members. Members came to me and said that they felt they were living in poverty. I find that disheartening. I find that very disappointing. I find that very dismaying. How can I be living in an affluent community, or supposedly an affluent community, and hear my teachers say that they have to choose between whether they pay their mortgage or they get their insurance because TEI has them strangled. It's strangling them. I remember some years ago, I spoke to our superintendent and he was very, very in favor of looking at it. Sir, I would ask you to go back and relook at TEI because it's not doing us any favor at all. Every time our scorecards come out, I have teachers crying. Every time. How can I have teachers crying, yet I have no one on the campus with any empathy for these people? They're telling them, oh, if you don't like it, you can leave. Is that how you speak to people who are giving our 154,000 students their blood, sweat, and tears? I don't think so. Am I the anomaly, that I don't hear that. I get the respect and the dignity of being a highly qualified teacher. I am asking for that same respect and dignity for all my teachers. They're asking, where is the money from TRE? Where's the money from? I don't know. So if we have to do an audit, we might. Then I have people coming to me complaining about the IT technicians came in. We're talking about a comparable market. They're telling me that they are only making $43,000 a year. Oh, they got a raise. They got a 20% raise. But when they compare themselves to other Metroplex cities, that same job is $57,000. How do you explain that?
Thank you, Ms. Bryant.
Thank you.
Sheila Walker, followed by George Rangel. Sheila Walker, George Rangel.
Good evening, President Henry, trustees, Superintendent Hinojosa. My name is George Angel, 334 Center Street, Dallas 75208. I'm the Executive Vice President at Alliance AFT. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you tonight. I'm talking to you tonight on 3 items. In 2011, when the district was in financial bind, many of our custodians took a 10% cut. It is 8 years later, and some of our custodians are still making less money than they were 8 years ago. I provided to you a list that shows you custodians. If you look at the green, that's what they were making in 2011. If you look at the red, it's what they're making now. And there's 70 in there, and those of you that are pro-racial equality, all of these are Hispanic and African-American employees. We ask that you do the right thing, that the district now is in better shape financially. It is time to do the right thing and bring these custodians back to the previous pay. I do want to thank Miguel Solis, Ben Mackey, George Foreman, and Maxie Johnson for their ongoing support on this issue. I hope we can work together to resolve this issue soon, restore the 10% for those custodians. I'm also here tonight in support of the teachers and their ongoing problems with TEI. I have to say that I share in their frustrations. I've been in countless meetings with the ISD staff on this issue. I won't go into detail because you've already heard it here tonight, but there are teachers that are fed up. We need to change the system. We need to fix it. Our children are hurting. If DISD really wants to be the best in the state, I have a simple piece of advice. Trust and listen to your teachers. I want to applaud the Transportation Department for moving forward and putting together a committee of representatives. The problem with this is a form was put out on September 9th. This flyer was posted, and they wanted the names of the folks that were going to be on this committee, and transportation employees had no clue that this was happening. The drivers and monitors do expect that those picked were handpicked by supervisors. The question is, if this is a serious fix, or is it just smoke and mirrors? Drivers were notified that routes would be bidded by proxy. The problem with that is we have a problem with favoritism and nepotism, and the Transportation Department is well aware of that. If these folks bid by proxy, they will not get the routes that they bidded for because it's going to be given to someone else. We ask that you please...
Thank you, Mr. Rangel.
Thank you for your time.
Judy Bryant, followed by Rena Honey.
Yes, good evening, Dr. Hinojosa, President Henry.
I'm Judy Bryant. I reside at 6900 Skillman, number 804, Dallas. I am a retired 32-year DISD teacher and a proud graduate of Kimball High School. And I'm speaking to you tonight on behalf of our community, our schools, a coalition working to preserve our public schools, which I've represented and been on since its start a few years back, representing the Texas Alliance for Retired Americans, where I'm the field organizer. OCOS is speaking tonight in support of trustee from District 6. We helped elect and re-elect her, and it has greatly concerned those of us in our community, our schools, about the disrespect that has been shown to this trustee recently. We noticed that she's been seated on the dais in the end in a place normally reserved for first-time incoming board members. We also heard each of you promise complete transparency when you ran for election as a trustee. But yet, OCOS feels that this trustee of District 6 is the only one who always has complete transparency. I was talking with Bill Betson this afternoon, who's in Little Rock with Reverend Peter Johnson, and he and a lot of us in OCOS feel that we also are very concerned about the trustee of District 6's attempts to pull items from the consent agenda, and those have been repeatedly stifled, when all she is doing is to try to attempt the complete transparency promised. Perhaps a simple publishing of information about an item on the consent agenda, whether online, as someone suggested earlier, or in print, would often eliminate the need for these requests. We all realize that sometimes lumping agenda items that are expensive together on the consent agenda with no public input gives the impression that there's something to hide. This is a public school board, and as such, I certainly hope that's not your wish. We in OCOS want to commend and thank Trustee Joyce Foreman for her tireless work on behalf of all of our students and educators, and ask that she receive the respect that she has earned through her service to the Dallas ISD. Thank you.
Our last speaker is Rena Honey.
Last but not least, and I'll try to hurry. Rena Honey, President of Alliance AFT, Local 2260, 334 Center Street in Dallas, and I'm addressing a non-agenda item. Let's shine a little light of truth, research, and reality on the pay-for-performance system for compensating teachers in Dallas. Researchers from the National Education Policy Center of the University of Colorado at Boulder found back in 2012 that paying teachers more money based on student test scores does not result in higher student achievement, school excellence, or equity, and it doesn't increase teacher retention. Likewise, a RAND study of New York's $56 million bonus pay system found no positive effect on either student performance or teachers' attitudes towards their job. And as we all know, in 2017, Houston ISD agreed to settle a federal lawsuit to stop their value-added scores from the EVOS system, and they used that to determine a teacher's evaluation and pay and whether they were firing teachers on that. And the most recent example of the flame out of performance pay is Denver, where it took a teacher strike this last year to get rid of it. Teachers said tying pay to test scores is at cross purposes with incentives to get teachers to work at high poverty schools. Testing doesn't measure how well a student does on non-tested subjects like art and music. Testing doesn't measure a student's critical thinking skills in a meaningful way. Paying more for higher test scores is unfair to teachers who do a great job, but their students have long struggled academically. Testing forces teachers into a box and minimizes the creative ways to teach a subject, especially this year with the requirement of scripted lesson plans. Teachers want what parents want and what students need: less frequent and less emphasis on high-stakes testing, investment in better and more classroom resources, wraparound services to help disadvantaged students, smaller class sizes, more collaboration between teachers and school leaders, a greater respect for teachers' voices, higher base pay for all teachers, and a real understanding of the difference between what works and what's an ideological misguided fad. Here's what they want. They want a third-party audit of the true cost of the TEI evaluation. What are we paying for it? They want a thorough comparison of the evaluation systems, such as T-test or peer review. And they want to foster campus atmosphere of collaboration and teamwork. Thank you for considering what is truly best for students and for educators. And thank you for the time that you give in an unpaid position.
This concludes our speakers.
Now, agenda item 4.01, the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Trustee Henry, members of the board. I want to commend the Bond Citizens Steering Committee that has met recently in this room. We had between 80 and 100 volunteers that are help planning our next bond program, and I want to thank you for helping select many of those members, and I appreciate that support. Second item, I also want to thank our team that allowed our neighborhood schools to apply for some innovation grants. Innovation Engine has made some decisions, and that money is going to be spread amongst our schools. And I was in schools this week, and the recipients were very appreciative. And finally, I want to thank the board for the vote of confidence. I love this city, and I love this district, and I look forward to 5 more years of success in transforming Dallas ISD. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Superintendent. Now we'll move on to Board of Trust. Well, before I do that, Trustee Garcia is not here, so in lieu of our absence, I want to appoint a secretary for this meeting, and I'm going to go to new Trustee Mackey. That's it. Someone use the right language. In the event of the absence or incapacity of the board secretary, Trustee Carla Garcia, the board president, myself, will appoint Secretary Pro Tempore, which will be Trustee Mackey. Now moving on to Board of Trustee Committee reports. We're going to start Trustee Mackey.
All right. So as to what Dr. Hinojosa just mentioned about the innovation grants for District 7 schools, one, the Innovative Engine Grant as campuses. So that is George Peabody, James Bowie, and Arcadia Park Elementary, along with Quintanilla Middle School. So at Peabody, students will use the grant to focus on social emotional learning. Bowie, they'll be discovering global service learning. And if I remember correctly, Quintanilla is a STEM one, and I don't remember off the top of my head what Arcadia Park is. In other news, Winnetka Elementary turns 80 years old this year, so they will kick off celebrations on the 1st of November and run it through November 8th. Celebrations will include a fall carnival, which I will be at. Maybe Dr. Hinojosa, I'll see you there. An alumni mixer, movie night, a dance. They'll have a launch of a time capsule. So congratulations to the school and all of the staff, families, and students that are there. Everyone is invited to come out and celebrate with us. And finally, Adamson High School is hosting a Fam Jam this Saturday from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. for schools in the Southwest Network. The event will be a morning of fun for the entire family. There will be a host of free workshops, family activities, entertainment, and door prizes, and more. So please come out and join us.
So I'm going to go back a step. Are there any committee reports? I don't think there are. No, okay. Trustee Flores, go ahead. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, President Henry. Today was a day of celebration at Walnut Hill Elementary School as the school staff received the news and the students that they are once again a National Blue Ribbon School. Walnut Hill has previously been a Blue Ribbon school early in my tenure, and so I'm excited that they're back on the list. I'm very proud of the students, the staff, for their hard work and dedication. As you know, the National Blue Ribbon School Award recognizes schools where students perform at very high levels or exemplary progress is being made toward closing achievement gaps, and they do both extremely well. Kudos to the Walnut Hill community altogether. District 1 is proud to also recognize Anne Frank Elementary School and Harry C. Withers Elementary School for being among 20 neighborhood schools to receive the Innovation Engine Grant, which will provide an opportunity for the schools to explore and implement innovative education models. The entire school community was excited about these great possibilities. Thank you to the Office of Transformation and Innovation for leading this great initiative. Thank you very much.
Trustee Mitchell.
Thank you, President Henry. I want to congratulate Joan McCoo, a veteran entrepreneurship teacher who was recently promoted to early college coordinator at Bryan Adams High School. She was recognized last month by the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship with the Stephen J. Mariotti Teacher Award. She received a $15,000 cash prize and an additional $5,000 cash award for the school. Also want to thank TDI Industries and the Dallas Regional Chamber for their donation of pallets of school supplies for Jack Lowe Senior Elementary School, the newest personalized learning school in Dallas ISD. We appreciate the support. Also today, Jack Lowe Senior Elementary School found out that they are a National Blue Ribbon School, so congratulations to that entire school community. I'd like to just point out the great progress that has been made at this school. In 2014, this was an improvement required school. 100% of the kids are economically disadvantaged, and 88% of them are English language learners. There are 25 different languages that the kids in that school speak. And the mobility rate in this part of town is 25%. So it's an amazing achievement. I want to congratulate Principal Barrios and her entire team, the community that supports her, and the superintendent and his leadership team. This is just a great example of how kids at any level of poverty, any level of challenges can succeed. So thank you. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and do the District 9 report. So I want to say congratulations to the faculty and staff of Edna Elementary School on hosting the Big Day community event, which will occur tomorrow all day, for creation of the school's new school garden. I also want to say thanks to Outteach, the organization that is coordinating the garden open project. We look forward to the new learning and veggies. I want to say kudos to our 4 District 9 schools that are in A ratings with distinction in the most recent round of TEA ratings. The administrators, teachers, parents, and students of these schools are to be commended for their efforts aimed at continuous improvement. Those schools include Marin Hill Young Women's Leadership School with a rating of 98 points, an A rating of 98 points, Booker T. Washington with an A rating with 91 points, Henry B. Gonzalez Elementary with an A rating with 90 points, and Charles Rice Learning Center, which received an A rating with 90 points. And there's also a special sense of pride at the Martin Luther King Learning Center in sunny South Dallas, where students achieved tremendous academic growth, rising from an F to a B rating, among the most impressive academic turnarounds in the district and the state. A member of the Accelerating Campus Initiative, or ACE program, King is set to become an exploratory arts academy next school year, offering piano, dance, vocal, music, and visual arts starting at pre-K. And last, I want to give a shout out to John Ireland Elementary and Piedmont Global Middle School, both of which have launched new orchestra programs. In addition, Ireland has joined forces with Catch Up and Read to support reading achievement in grades 1, 2, 3. I also want to send a congratulations to our District 9 schools that received the innovation grants. That'd be Lincoln High School, John Ireland again, Urban Park, and that's it. That concludes the District 9 report. Trustee Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Henry. I want to thank Wilmer, Mayor Emmanuel Wealthy Williams, and the wonderful Wilmer community members for joining me on Tuesday to celebrate the groundbreaking for the new Wilmer Elementary School. What a great start for the new nest for Wilmer's best. I am personally inviting you to join me and the members of the mighty Roosevelt Nation as we celebrate the construction of Franklin Delano Roosevelt High School on Saturday, September the 28th at 10:30 a.m. We're excited to launch this chapter in the history of this historic District 5 school. I also want to thank Tony Johnson for advocacy and endless work letting us know in the community, keeping us informed. This has been a long time coming. I'm excited that this is happening for Roosevelt, and working with you in the community. You are truly blessed in District 5. Also want to add congratulations to Law Magnet for being selected as a National Blue Ribbon School. This is a prestigious honor, and the entire student body, staff, and parents should be proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Johnson. Trustee Marshall.
Thank you, Trustee Henry. I want to begin by giving a shout out to the Hillcrest High School boys football team, which is off to an incredible start this season, starting 4-0, which is a substantial improvement, let's just say. Also want to congratulate the students at Preston Hollow Elementary who enjoyed a great Education Go Get It week as students spent time focusing on exploring careers for their future. And want to congratulate North Dallas High School, Woodrow, and KB Polk, each of which were also chosen for the Innovation Engine Grant Program, which I'm excited that they're able to participate. Also, shout out to the J.L. Long Middle School cheerleading team, which was one of 10 schools that participated in the district's first ever middle school cheer camp. The Long cheerleaders showed off their routine and helped other students learn the basics of cheer. Also, on August 24th, William Lipscomb Elementary became a Monarch Hero. With support from the National Wildlife Federation and DISD, they received grant support to install a pollinator garden and a learning garden, and this will be a great sanctuary for butterflies that will enhance learning opportunities for our kids. On August 29th, Woodrow Wilson High School was one of 11 schools to receive the AVID, the Advancement via Individual Determination one-time grant, which covers membership, digital curriculum, and AVID weekly supplemental resources. So these scholarships will help the campus promote leadership and collaborative efforts for both students and staff through professional learning and awareness. And lastly, I just want to echo Trustee Mitchke's comments regarding the achievement of Jack Lowe Sr. and their achievement of Blue Ribbon status just a few short years after being IR. I think this is one of the most impressive accomplishments that the district has seen in recent years. And I actually spoke to Jack Lowe Jr., who is, as many of you know, a former trustee in District 2, former board president, and is actually my campaign treasurer. I spoke to him earlier today about this achievement and just wanted to congratulate him personally, and he is over the moon that the school named after his father has seen such remarkable improvement. So I want to thank Stephanie and the entire staff there, as well as the principal and all the teachers that made that possible. It's really a remarkable achievement. Thanks. That concludes the District 2 report.
Thank you, Trustee Marshall. Trustee Foreman.
Thank you. First, I'd like to start out by thanking all of the citizens who came out to speak tonight. It's always good to see them speaking. And then I'd like to go on to also congratulate District 6 schools. This is the third year in a row that no comprehensive school in District 6 is low performing. The third year in a row that no comprehensive school in District 6 is low performing. I also would like to congratulate Jimmy Tyler Brashear Elementary and Kathleen Joy Gillum Collegiate Academy. They're the two of my 28 schools that received an A rating. The B-rated schools I also would like to recognize, and they are D.A. Hulsey Steam Middle School, Maria Marino Elementary, Martin Weiss Elementary, Humphrey Lee Elementary, Ronald E. McNair Elementary, Leslie A. Stemmons Elementary, Thomas L. Marsalis Elementary, and Thomas Tolbert Elementary. And then I'd also like to say is for Kimball High School, they are 3-0 in football. Thank you.
Trustee Solis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll keep this brief. I want to say congratulations to all of the District 8 schools that have received innovation grants. Also, congratulations to all District 8 schools, none of which were rated improvement required, also known as being on the state's failing schools list. And that is a tremendous achievement. Most, if not all, the schools are B's or A's, and so that's a testament of the work that's being done by our educators in District 8. I want to say congratulations to Superintendent Hinojosa for his contract extension. Superintendent, I know I submitted remarks to President Henry, and I know that he was able to verbalize those for the public record, but I just wanted to make sure that I could express to you in this meeting just how great a job you're doing. And I also appreciate the fact that you consistently remain open to feedback, whether that's quantitative data feedback or qualitative performance feedback. So good luck in this future, and continue to keep pressing for continued improved results. And I want to echo the comments of both of my colleagues as it relates to Jack Lowe. While I recognize that that is not a school in District 8, the work that's being done at that campus, I think, is unique in certain ways to that campus, but also a testament to the work that's being done across this district. You know, and we hear quite often at these boards about corruption or low achievement, or the inability for the district to be able to get the job done for kids. And story after story after story manifest about the amazing results that are happening in Dallas ISD. So kudos to the staff and the students at Jack Lowe, and kudos to Dallas ISD and its leadership team for proving what we can and will continue to do in Dallas ISD. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Solis. Trustee Garcia.
Good evening, all. I want to start out by congratulating the two schools in District 4 that were selected to receive an Innovation Engine Grant. Those are the Young Women's STEAM Academy in Balch Springs and Gilbert Quayer Elementary. Both school communities are excited to explore all the possibilities that will bring programming to students in District 4. And also a very special thank you to the Dallas-based nonprofit Love in Motion that gave goodie bags to our teachers at Blanton Elementary last Friday. Thank you for letting our teachers know that you care about them and that you wish them well. And also a really important opportunity that I want to share with all of you is tomorrow, September 27th at 9 a.m. at Florence Middle School, we'll have a Million Fathers March where we'll be able to support our students and letting them know that we are an important part of their life. I wish I could be there. I'm here for another governance training on my own. But before that, before I conclude, let me share a resolution that was passed on to me by the community of the Young Men's Leadership Academy at Fredens Florence, and it reads as following. This is a proclamation of hope for the parents of Malik Tyler. The undersigned, being the leadership of the Young Men's Leadership Academy at Fred Florence Middle School and Dallas Independent School District, hereby adopt the following resolutions and pledge the following actions as a proclamation of hope for the parents of Malik Tyler. Whereas it was a beautiful and clear evening, the 5th of June 2019, that we lost Malik Tyler on Burton and San Agustin in Pleasant Grove, Texas. Whereas at 7 p.m. on that fateful day, our brave soul Malik Tyler ascended to glory. Whereas it is known that Malik Tyler was a happy young man, but was destined not to return to his earthly home that evening. Instead, Malik heard the call and answered, destined to start another journey on the road to where his forefathers awaited him. Whereas it is known that Malik Tyler treated all his friends with compassion and kindness, and he was the loving son of hardworking parents and the beloved brother of wonderful siblings. Whereas Malik Tyler was called to depart this life because he had fulfilled his great purpose here. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Young Men's Leadership Academy send you, the parents of Malik Tyler, our deepest condolences with ray of hope. Resolved that though Malik Tyler is gone, he will remain alive in our hearts of loved ones as the sunshine that comes out of darkness and as the soothing balm that give us hope. Resolved that we will continue to listen to the songs that Malik liked and remember him when we hear them, and that we will play the video games that he cherished and think of him as we play them and remember the way that he challenged us. And these thoughts will bring a smile to our face and give us joy and hope for a better tomorrow. Resolved that with open hearts and minds, we will not be destroyed by the hate of the few, but that we will be comforted by the love and compassion of the many, and you will be stronger here in Pleasant Grove, all hoping for that greater tomorrow. Resolved that as citizens of this multicultural city, we will come together in unity and see Malik Tyler as a bridge of hope for our greater community. Resolved that in Malik Tyler's name and with profound sympathy, we extend our hands to you, the family, and hope that the peace as well as the hope that passeth all understandings will heal you. Resolved, parents of Malik Tyler, stand noble. Siblings of Malik Tyler, stand proud. Friends of Malik Tyler, stand strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Garcia. Trustees, we're moving on to agenda item 5.01, consider and take possible action to approve the minutes submitted for approval. The following minutes have been submitted for approval. We have the Board of Trustees and Superintendent Workshop on August 22nd, 2019, and the board meeting on August 22nd, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt the minutes submitted for for approval. Trustees, are there any corrections? If no corrections, trustees, please cast your vote.
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
Yes. The motion passes 8-0.
Trustees, now moving on to item 6.01, consider and take possible action to adopt a resolution approving Dallas County Elections' new voting system for use in all of its joint and/or special elections. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Trustees, is there any discussion? Okay, trustees, please cast your votes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
The motion passes 8-0.
Now moving on to agenda item 6.04, consider and take possible action to approve a formation of a procurement ad hoc committee. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Trustees, is there discussion? Okay, trustees, please cast your votes.
I vote yes.
Yes. I vote yes.
The motion passes 8-0.
Moving on to agenda item 6.05, consider and take possible action to approve the formation of a superintendent evaluation ad hoc committee in accordance with BDB local. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Trustees, is there discussion? Trustees, please cast your vote.
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
The motion passes 8-0.
Trustees, we're moving on to the consent agenda items. We have consent agenda items 7.01 through 7.41 as amended. The following items have been pulled for a separate vote: 7.06, 7.07, 7.14, 7.18, and 7.23. Consent agenda items 6.02, 6.03, 7.28, 7.34, and 7.35 have been pulled completely from the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve consent agenda items 7.01 through 7.41 as amended. There's no debate on consent agenda items. Trustees, please cast your votes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
The motion passes 8-0.
Okay, now, agenda item 8.05, consider and take possible action to approve the budget amendments for September 30th, 2019. Was consent item 7.23 pulled by Trustee Joyce Foreman, Trustee Justin Henry, and Dan Mitchke.
Move to approve.
Second.
Seconded. It has been moved and seconded. Trustee, there's discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Pam, don't leave.
Good evening.
Good evening. Because I want to ask about one specific thing in this whole thing and going, it's something that Pam is doing. So my question is about the establishing the $60,000 grants. That's going to be participatory budgeting. I need a clear explanation of what that is and why we're doing it.
Okay, during the budget process, there was conversations about participatory budgeting, and as we investigated that, we had conversations about what that meant and so forth. And one of the things that intrigued us was including students in the process of developing a budget for their campus and having involvement in that process. So what we did was we thought, well, how could we somewhat pilot that idea at our campuses, so we came up with the idea of having a competitive grant application where the campuses, high schools, would be able to submit an application to the district of how they're going to include not only students but the community in that process, and that those applications would be such that you wouldn't be able to tell what campus they were, and then the teen board would rank those and come up with the top three. Then those three would be granted the budget resources to do that at the particular campus that were selected.
Have we formulated the process yet?
Well, we do have a WAPE going out. They do have the application. They do have the criteria, and we're doing this in conjunction with chief of staff and school leadership.
So I just like to get what the application looks like, what the process is beyond the students selecting the three top ones, and how the community really participates in this, because I do have some concerns with taxpayer money and groups from the outside coming in. I have no problems with students, but I would have some concerns if there are groups from the outside that are beginning to direct the way the district spends money.
Well, that's not the intent. This will, and what we're looking at are students, student council, really driving this, along with a teacher, principal, counselor, assistant principal. And this WAPE will go out, I believe it's next week is our timeline. And
so if you just share the process with me. I just want to see the process, who's going to be involved, and how that's going to all be laid out.
Right. Now, students, once it goes to the schools, they can determine who's involved. I mean, really, they need to look at their
so
student
to the
group.
SBDM that's going to be involved, or?
Well, that's their process. They will come, they meaning the schools, will come up with their process for getting input from their community, from their broad community, the student community. And that will then come to the teen board. The officers of the teen board will determine, they will look at all the applications, and they will select 3 of the schools. And that'll be under the direction of Sherry Christian, because she works with the teen board. But I will certainly, once all this is laid out, I will certainly give that to you. But the intent is really to have students use their leadership skills and really work with their student body and their community to do something that would be beneficial for their campus.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Trustee Foreman, I shared your concern, and so I wanted to make sure that this process was pristine and was student-driven, and that's our expectation.
I'm good with that. As long as it stays right there.
That's also the reason why I pulled this item. This process is going to be a pilot program, right?
Correct.
With just 3 schools, and it's going to be student-driven. And I have a lot of confidence in our students having participated with them in the school shooting seminars and meetings that we've had. They're extremely responsible, and it surprised me how mature and serious they took it. They were actually focused on social and emotional health rather than simply saying we need more metal detectors, which is what I originally expected. But having participated in a community partnership for a number of years before I was on the board, I always remembered the situation where our company would come to the school and we'd have this great idea. And the principal was so happy to have the extra support that almost anything that we did would be additive. But there's some things that would be
more helpful to the school than others. So as I remember once we came to the school with the idea that we'd put an internet safety, we do an internet safety presentation. And the principal basically said, Dan, our kids don't have computers. None of the kids in the school have computers. What we really need are, is help in these areas. And it would be things like helping tutor in math and reading and so forth. And so I would hope that the administration would kind of use its knowledge to maybe create a menu of things that kids could consider when they're doing this. Things like after-school programming, gardens, more tutoring, but to just let the students make the decision in the end, but put some suggestions out there.
And this will only be at the high school level, I should say that. And the principal will need to sign off on their process that they're going to submit.
On the process or the final expenditure?
They will sign off on the process.
In my experience, you have some valid concerns, but my experience, like with the Aspen Challenge, these kids really step up. And if it's competitive, and if you have only 3 awards and you have 15 applicants, the ones that are superficial will fall off to the wayside. I had the confidence. After dealing with the teen board, with Aspen Challenge, to say something, see something, do something with the technology, apps, I think that it will. Your concerns are valid, but I think they'll be taking care of themselves since it's only 3 awards.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think this is a good idea, and I'm looking forward to seeing the results.
Thank you.
All right, trustees, please cast your vote.
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
The motion passes 9-0.
Okay, the time is 11:10 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned. Have a good night.